it's there.
Yep.
Now, some of the pictures are a little grainier than others, but we do what we can and we use what we can here. So it's the best quality that we can find.
Right.
But I think it's pretty cool because, I don't have to ask or dig around or Google search for it. I just pull up our page, boom, every card is there.
Yep. Now,
So,
admittedly, we were a little slow to get up the Nova ones. Obviously, like I already mentioned, I was going nuts the past couple weeks, and I was out like all weekend last week, so I missed most of them. But normally, we have them up within a couple minutes of them being spoiled, because you and I are both pretty involved in all the discords and news and stuff, so they're usually up pretty darn quick. So definitely,
it just so happens that you were busy with your work and everything. I was out of town, so Nova happened, and we both were just kind of too busy to post anything.
right. Yeah, it happens. But like I said, most of them will be up right away. So it's definitely a really good spot to check out if you've missed some spoilers or you need to catch up on what's out there already on the wild. And we'll be going over those in a little bit as well. So we'll jump into the spoilers in just a second. I just want to take a quick second to, again, thanks to our Patreons over at patreon.com/Sons of Mandalore. You guys really make all this possible and help us kind of put what to go together. I don't know if you can tell from your end, but I just I broke down and got a new microphone to take my podcasting to the next level. So all that's possible for you guys. You're helping make the show better, and it means a lot to us. So thanks for that.
All right, that is awesome.
All right, let's go to. You want to start with spoilers, or do you want to save that as a teaser for the end?
Let's start with spoilers. I want
Give the people what they want. I like it.
I want to talk about it because the end of the episode we're going to be talking about trash, jank, just the awful stuff. Well, it's the fun stuff, but it's not competitive stuff. So let's give them
All
a
right.
little more competitive stuff at the start.
Let's do it. So I'm actually going to pull up on the stream, on our Twitch stream, the website itself with all of these spoilers. And which one do you want to start with here? I got all the most recent ones at the top, so.
Jin, I love Jin.
Let's start with Jin then. All right, let's see. So Jin is a red hero character. She's 13 points for regular and 16 points for elite, and she has 12 health. Her sides are 2 ranged, 2 ranged, plus 2 ranged. So yes, you heard right. That's 3 2-range sides. 1 discard, 1 discard, blank. And then her text reads, after you activate this character, you may look at the top 3 cards of opponent's deck and rearrange them in any order. You may discard the top card of that deck.
It's pretty sweet. Her point cost and her health is crazy good.
Yep.
3 2 damage sides. That's also crazy good. She's the perfect pair with Cassian. I mean,
Yep.
where you think it's not a mill deck. At least I wouldn't build it that way. But it's like a douchey kind of control. If you don't watch what you're doing, it will still mill you. Oh, and by the way, we're dealing like 6 to 8 damage around with all our range sides. So.
Can we label that as a deck archetype? Douchey kind of control?
Yes, that is what Jin Cassian is going to be.
I like that they're starting to make these more thematic pairings actually work. Like you can pair Jin and Cassian like perfectly, and the points line up and they actually make sense together. Same thing they did with Rex and Clone Troopers. It's really nice to kind of help. There's a lot of people that play a game like Star Wars Destiny for the thematic side of things, so it's nice to have that kind of synergy. And obviously these two characters could not line up any better. They have all the ranged sides, Jin's +2, there's plenty of black sides on their character dice. Of course, the other thing I notice immediately is that this character pairing in particular really, really hates easy pickings.
Well, yeah, but at least they can run easy pickings.
True, that's very true. So you said you don't build this as a control deck, or excuse me, you don't build this as a mill deck, right? So because you can go through 3 cards a round just by using dice and activating.
So
But
what I equate it to, and the way that I will start building it is the Rose 2 Jet Partisan vehicle deck, where it's built as a damage deck.
oh, which
There's
long term
damage
plan?
exactly.
Yeah,
So you have a long term plan here, but you still have that consistent mill every round that isn't your end game goal. But if your opponent discards too much and
sure,
plays into it that way, you have it as an option.
sure,
So it's a versatile kind of play style that can mess with those vehicle decks, discarding. And now, although currently vehicle decks are fast enough that mill doesn't really bother them that much, which drives me crazy, but we'll get to that later.
yeah,
But the ability to kind of flip a switch and go, okay, you've discarded 3 cards this round trying to hit a reroll and didn't get it, and I've easy picking your dice. Now I've hit you for 4 damage or so, and you've lost, between the 3 discards, the discards from Cassian's ability and the discard from Jin, and maybe I resolve the discard side or 2, you're already looking at, a fifth of your deck gone,
yeah,
sixth of your deck gone, whatever. That's one round. The next round, you might have that happen again, and then you discard a couple more times. Next thing you
sure,
know, half your deck is gone, and it's turn 3. You got to start worrying about that stuff. It's not as efficient. It's not going to be as efficient as
sure.
a built mill deck with Yoda and Cassian and Anakin or whatever. But it has the ability to disrupt and cause an issue while still dealing damage and killing characters, which the other decks do not have that option.
Yeah. Another way to look at it is it's not a mill deck at all, and because the other side of this ability that we haven't talked about really is the extra benefit you get in that you get information. You know what their next 3 cards are, so you know what's going to be in their hand next round, which can be super helpful. And on top of that, you get to pick which of the top 3 cards you want to discard. So if you activate Jin first, you look at the top 3 cards, you're like, there's only one here I'm really worried about, so you'll just discard that one, put the other 2 back. Or if you hate all 3 of them and you're like, I need to get rid of all 3 of these cards, well, then you can use Cassian's ability to discard the other 2. But you have that knowledge now that will help you get rid of specific cards that you wouldn't want to help. Maybe there's 2 that you don't like, so you put the second one on top after the discard. Then in one of Cassian's dice, you mill a card to get rid of it. The other one, you just deal an extra damage. So,
yeah. I love how versatile it is. Her card is awesome when it comes to just, like I said, being a douchey control deck. It's not.
That's a nice ancient lightsaber you're about to draw. It'd be a shame if something were to happen to it.
You know what else I love it for? I love it for Mother Talzin decks, where you get to see it's like what's okay. So out of these 3 cards, there's one of your 4 or 6 even costed. Let's put that one on top.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
So no need to fix your dice this round. It's not happening.
Yeah.
While it's not her main ability, it's just an added perk that you kind of have that option there.
Right. But that's hilarious. I love that. That's like, yeah, I mean, all those kinds of interactions where you get to manipulate and you get knowledge and stuff. It's super flexible. Seems like it'll be a really strong card.
Yeah.
So with that, you want to move on to her blaster pistol?
Yeah, let's pull up a blaster.
All right, go ahead. Why don't you read it for the people?
All right, so Jin Urso's blaster. It's a unique upgrade, 3 cost, red weapon. The die sides are 2 ranged, +3 ranged, 3 indirect, 1 discard, 1 shield. It has redeploy, which all good 3 cost weapons should. And the text reads, after you activate the attached character, you may reroll this die or discard the top card of a deck. If this upgrade is on Jin Urso, reroll any number of her character dice. So that's not an instead of, that is including. So if you have this on Jin, you get to activate it, reroll the blaster and her character dice, and discard a card. So that...
Oh, well, you can't do all 3, right?
You you get to either discard or reroll, but
Right.
you get to decide that after you resolve Jin's ability.
Yes.
So you can.
And after you see the result of your roll-in.
Yeah, so you roll in, see what you're looking at, look at the top 3 cards of their deck, discard one of them. If you really hate another one in there, you get to discard that as well. Or if you're okay with those and you don't love your roll that you had, you get to fix your or reroll your blaster die on
Right.
top of rolling all of your character dice if you didn't like those results. So yeah,
this is an important part to point out for those who may not be aware. When you have multiple after something effects that trigger at the same time, you get to choose what order that they go in. So after you activate, there's 2 abilities here. You roll in, you see your result, then you can choose what order to resolve the other 2, and you can use Jin's ability first to look at the top 3, discard one, put another one back. Then you can decide if you want to use the blaster to discard a card or re-roll the die. So maybe you already hit the +3 and you're happy with it. You don't need to re-roll it, so you just discard the card to get rid of it. This is also important for things like Thrawn. A lot of people I'll see roll in Thrawn and call a number before they even see the results, when sometimes you want to see what it is to determine if you want, like if you roll the same symbol, as you want to call that one for easy pickings or something. So it's just something I see a lot of people overlook, which is super important in this particular interaction. But anyway, the card specifically, it's a 3-cost weapon, which a lot of the time I have a difficult time, kind of swallowing that pill. 3 is expensive for an upgrade.
Say the die sides are not my favorite for a 3-cost weapon. I want like a Maul Saber level power for a 3-cost weapon.
Sure. I mean, there are 2 3 sides, which is nice, but one of them is a modified side, which is kind of unfortunate. And it has redeploy, which, like, if I'm going to play 3 resources for a weapon, it's nice to, kind of make sure I get that extra value out of it.
Yeah. And I mean, if this, say you're running the Jin Cassian deck we were talking about, if this redeploys over to Cassian, I am not sad about that.
No, absolutely.
All of these die sides work well with him. I like all of these results. I mean, even like 3 indirect, like that's a lot of indirect to be throwing.
Especially if it's on Cassian, because he does an extra indirect every time he resolves a die.
So, well, only his character dice, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, that's what I meant.
But it's a good weapon in a Jin deck. I don't see it being used anywhere else. Maybe. It's too early to say definitively.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the only extra thing you get from Jin is rerolling character dice. I say the only thing. That's actually huge. But it's not like it's unusable without that ability, but it certainly becomes much stronger when it's on Jin, which it should.
It's a legendary card, but it doesn't feel legendary in power level unless it's on Jin.
Right. And it also feels disingenuous to call it Jin Urso's blaster when she just stole it anyway. It's not even her blaster. Excuse me,
disingenuous. Because isn't there another upgrade from one of the previous sets that is essentially his blaster? They just call it like the 8380 or whatever.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I find this card vague and unconvincing.
Yeah. Let's move on to some blue hero.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
Oh, I wonder who you want to talk about then.
I want to talk about my boy Qui-Gon. He's now technically he's been spoiled early. This is
I think this was from Gen Con, right?
Right, but I kind of want to talk about it just because his lightsaber's also spoiled.
Sure.
Nova. So, just real quick recap: he is a 12-cost blue hero. We don't know if he's legendary or not. We think he is, but his die sides are 1 melee, 2 melee, 2 shield, 1 resource. He's a character Jedi. While this character has 2 or more shields, increase the value of his character die by 1. And while this character has 3 or more shields, increase the value of his upgrade die by 1, which is really good when you have things like Shoto lightsabers out there in the world, where you have 2 Shoto lightsabers on him. This just immediately
his dice are always,
yeah. And you're talking, man, his character dice are 2 melee, 3 melee, 3 shield, 3 shield, 2 resources. Like that's stupid good for
Yeah.
character.
So the thing is, like, well, okay, I was going to originally say that the 3 shield side isn't as great when he already has 2 shields to turn on that ability, but of course you can put them on your other character.
Well,
So
they're also going to be trying their hardest to clear those shields off of him.
sure, sure, yeah. I mean, it gives your opponent a difficult choice because if you target him, he can tank up really easily. So yeah, it's an interesting character. I remember my first inclination when I saw this was 18 points. Who the heck am I going to pair this with? I like the old Qui-Gon better, but it obviously warrants some experimentation because if you can consistently keep those 2 or 3 shields on there, it becomes pretty ridiculously strong.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, because when you think about like having 3 shields on him, like with upgrades, like upgrades can get really out of hand if they get +1 to all of their dice levels. Like
right.
there's some like ancient lightsaber with a +4 melee side. Like
Yeah, if you resolve an ancient lightsaber with his 2 side and he has 3 shields, that becomes, what is that, 3 + 4? It's 7 damage from 2 dice.
yeah, because I was thinking about this with his character because his point cost is 1480. It's not great,
Sure.
and I absolutely despise 3 die list. But you could do a 1 die Qui-Gon, 2 die Old Man Luke list, and just have shields everywhere.
Yeah.
Where Luke's dice can always keep their shields up. You've got Qui-Gon out there where you put a couple of upgrades on him. You
Sure.
get 3 shields on him. Next thing you know, you've got crazy amounts of damage coming out with just the 3 dice, but the upgrade dice are going to be super effective. It's got 24 health with the deck.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's going to be great, but it'll at least be fun and kind of janky.
Sure. Yeah, and it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting thinking about while that ability is active, it also counts for things like guard, for example. If his 2 melee counts as a 3 melee, you could remove 3 dice with it. So that's an interesting interaction. I'm really curious to see. I mean, I'm hoping that there's another character released in this set that will pair well with him because there's no 12 cost elite characters that I'm really excited at the moment to pair him with, but it's something I want to try. So now,
FFG has a problem balancing 12, 13 cost characters because pretty much they are like 0 for 6 with their attempts at it. So
yeah, you're not wrong.
I mean, it's one of those power levels that if you give it any sort of edge, it's just gonna blow the meta.
Yeah, because the 17 and 18 cost characters are so strong that finding a good pairing really puts them over the top. So it's a difficult place to balance between. So let's move on. You want to move on to his lightsaber?
Yeah,
because it's really interesting because I was just talking about how I like the old Qui-Gon a lot too. I have a soft spot for him because I used to play a lot of Qui-Gon Caden back in the day, but this lightsaber works on old Qui-Gon, so I'm super interested in it. So it is another 3 cost upgrade. It's a blue hero, and it's Qui-Gon's Jinn's lightsaber. Obviously, it's unique also. The die sides are 2 melee plus 3 melee, 1 shield, 2 shield, 2 shield. Again, remember, if this is on Qui-Gon, those all get increased by 1 if he has 3 shields. And then the text reads, after 1 or more shields are removed from attached character, you may exhaust this upgrade to give that character 1 shield. If this upgrade is on Qui-Gon Jinn, you may draw a card. So, someone deals damage. The most basic one, someone deals damage to you, you exhaust this, you get a shield right back, so it's easier to keep his ability online. But, with old Qui-Gon, I'm just picturing right now trying to, work with people to think about, okay, I add a shield with Qui-Gon, I use his ability to remove that shield first, or to remove a shield first to ping a damage. Then I activate this to get the shield back, and I remove that shield to ping a damage. And it's like the first shield you put on him every round becomes 2 damage. And
2 damage.
and a card draw. And not only is it 2 damage, it's 2 instances of 1 damage, so like you can't force illusion 2 of it, for example.
Yeah, and then you riposte for 3 and get one of those. Yeah.
Well, you can't riposte for 3 if you're removing the third one, right, to use his ability. But
okay. Oh, my bad. You're right. Only 2 damage. Yeah. You've only done 4 damage with a card and activation. So.
Oh, and by the way, you haven't resolved his die yet, so
yeah. Yeah. So there's still that +3 melee out there with his other 2 melee side showing. Yeah.
Unless you have shields, then it's a 3 melee side.
Fair point.
Of course, that's the other Qui-Gon, but still.
Oh yeah, that's the other Qui-Gon.
Yeah. It's cool because it interacts well with both Qui-Gons. On one hand, it helps keep the ability online. On the other one, it makes his pinging ability even stronger. So I like it a lot.
Yeah, and it's I like that it's. I'm gonna say, I like it better on the old Qui-Gon, but it's not bad on the new Qui-Gon at all. Sure. And when you have that first, like, you want that character's weapon to be good with all versions of that character. Like,
right.
I don't see, like, the Luke's lightning rod or whatever as being good with all versions of Luke.
No.
Because the old Awakenings Luke is garbage. But, you know, this Qui-Gon saber, I mean, this works with the Awakenings Qui-Gon and the Across the Galaxy Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
So I think that's fun.
I agree. And the die sides, I mean, the die sides leave a little to be desired as well. For a 3-cost upgrade, you kind of want a little more bang for your buck. But it synergizes well, which is the important thing. So, it'll be worth a try. Unfortunately, it doesn't redeploy. Which is also unfortunate for a 3-cost upgrade, but you can override it with something that redeploys right before he dies. So definitely an interesting card. I love how thematic it is and how much synergy there is with it, so I'm excited to try it.
Yep.
All right. I'm going to save that one for last. Let's move to, do you want to go to these two?
Yeah. You pull up whatever you want.
All right. Let's talk about the Millennium Falcon. This is the third? Is this a third iteration?
Third iteration of a support. It's, I mean, if you're going to have 3 copies of it, you want it to be a really iconic one, like the Falcon.
Sure. And if they're all different ones, right? So, like, this is the one from Solo. So that's a different name factor. So, Millennium Falcon is a 6-cost yellow hero support. So, right away, tied for the most expensive support in the game, so it better be really good, right? So the die sides are 3 ranged, 4 ranged for 1, 4 indirect, 2 discard, 3 shields, and 3 resources. Holy cow, already those die sides are ridiculous. No blanks.
Yeah.
Then the text reads, after you play the support, you may search your deck or discard pile for Escapecraft, which we'll get to shortly. It's another one of the spoilers, and attach it to this support as a mod upgrade without paying its cost. If you searched your deck for it, shuffle it.
I love this.
I feel like we should immediately talk about what the Escapecraft is so that we can have context, right?
Yeah, let's pull up the Escapecraft, go over that, and then we'll just talk about both of the cards.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
kind of a unit.
So, Escapecraft, of course, for those of you watching on the stream and on YouTube, the picture isn't the greatest quality, but it's all we got. So Escapecraft is a 2-cost hero support. Of course, like I just mentioned, it's a 0-cost if you just search your deck and attach it with Millennium Falcon. And its sides are 1 focus, 1 shield, 1 resource, 2 resources, and a blank. And it has a power action that says, spot the Millennium Falcon to attach this card to it as a mod upgrade. So if you play it before you play the Falcon, you can just attach it. And an action, if this card is an upgrade, as in not a mod, it becomes a support. I'm sorry, I said that backwards. If this card is an upgrade, in other words, if it's a mod on the Falcon, it becomes a support. So you could essentially attach and detach it from the Falcon.
So immediately, I mean, the Falcon's cool. It's expensive, but that's not really a problem nowadays. Getting money is stupid easy in this game. But what I see and what I want to play is a Hera deck You play
Mm.
that Falcon for free, pull out the escape craft, attach it for free, and then detach it and get a free escape craft on the board that you get to keep.
Yep.
And then replay the Falcon every turn, attach it if you want, or roll it in separate if you want, however you want to do it. But the just instant value, like you can have round one and then have that escape craft out there to
With that
play
juicy
on.
two resource side.
Well, I mean, you're running a vehicle deck at that, presumably,
Sure.
because you've got Hera. I'm assuming you would have Yoda too, so you're going to be making money. So you start playing some of those with Hera's ability, then you start hard casting some of the others. You might get a U-wing out. You might want to play one of the other versions of the Falcon because there are 3 of them now.
Right.
You can attach that pod to any of them, so it doesn't.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that. Because it doesn't specify, it just has Millennium Falcon, yeah. But it's like, yeah, so like you're paying 6 resources, you get 8 resources worth of support out of it. It's an interesting interaction because you play, it's the only time in the game's history you've been able to play a support and get 2 dice out of it immediately. And I also like that it comes from your discard pile. If somebody mills it, you still can do it, which is really cool. And you know, it also synergizes well with you. The dice sides on the Falcon are really powerful, and the escape craft has 2 one focus sides, so you can flip it to whatever you want. It's I'm interested to see if it ends up somewhere. Hera does make a lot of sense. Maybe this will be a good use for what's that? I can't think of it right now. 3 cost event that says gain 5 resources, but you have to pass for the rest of the round.
Oh yeah, I can't remember the name of it.
But I mean, maybe this is a use for that. Finally, I've always thought that card was kind of interesting because in a deck where you just don't care about claiming the battlefield, it could make some sense.
Also, like having 3 resources at the end of a round where you're going to be paying for that. Situationally, it's great, but a lot of times it's not really.
Yeah, it's tough to pull off, but it can help you play a Falcon the next round because you'll go in the round with at least 7. So, yeah, this is a cool card. It's a good thing too because Hero Vehicles was really struggling.
Yeah, it has such a hard time with this. Although to be fair, they don't have Snoke; they only have that loser Yoda. So
and Rally Aid. You know, life is tough for Hero Vehicle players. So.
Speaking of Rally Aid, let's go to the next card that will focus. I mean, Rally Aid is going to make this card super fun.
Oh, this one?
Assuming you're
the X-wing.
Like as me, yeah.
Yeah.
So
go ahead. You want to read it for us?
Sure, I'll read it. So the X-wing is a 2-cost red hero support. It's a vehicle. Its die sides read X ranged, X range for 1, X indirect, 1 disrupt, 1 shield, and a blank. The text on the card reads, you can include up to 4 copies of this support in your deck, and X on this die is equal to the number of copies of this support you have in play. So it's like the hero version of the TIE Fighter, although I like the TIE Fighter a little better.
I like the TIE Fighter a lot better.
Yeah. So, I mean, 2-cost vehicles are great. Now, if you only have 1 copy of this in play, it is garbage. You would play any other 2-cost vehicle over this any day. But you put a second one out, and all of a sudden, both of those vehicles, so you've got 2 of those in play, are pretty good. Like 2 range, 2 for 1, 2 indirect. Those are pretty good die sides. If you put a third out, holy crap, this is going to be overwhelming because you've got 3 dice. Assuming you've got a deck with at least a little bit of focus in it, you might be doing 9 range damage with your 3 vehicle dice out there, and that doesn't include any other vehicles you got out through the course of the game.
Right.
Because, like we were saying, if you have a Rally Aid, these might have been free for you. You know, like
true.
Like when it's free, you don't care about how garbage that die is for the first one because it didn't cost you anything. So you might play a T-47 and then an X-wing. The next round you play another X-wing and maybe, crate speeder. All of a sudden you've got 4 vehicles that can hit you for a lot of damage.
Yeah. It's thematic in that when they get to that kind of critical mass, they become much stronger than TIE fighters, and TIE fighters are built to swarm, in that when you play one, you search for the other one, you play one, you search for the other one. But at the same time, that's why the TIE fighter is so good in my mind, because it adds that consistency. You can exactly draw all of them whenever you want. Whereas this, like you said, it's really bad if there's just one of them. With two, it's pretty good, and it only really becomes worth it when you get three. At this point, you've spent 6 resources. You've had to draw exactly 3 cards from your deck, which is not really difficult, or not really all that easy to do. Like, I get that we are playing 30-card decks, and so the draws are relatively consistent, but it's much harder to get to a point where the X-Wings are really impactful than it seems like it is for the TIE fighters. If I'm playing a villain vehicle deck, I can get, if I get enough money, play a Thrawn, Snoke, or whatever, I can get all 4 of them out on turn 1 or something. Whereas this, I might not get to the point where they're good until 4 rounds into the game. So
what you do is, with that Thrawn Snoke deck, you wait until turn 2. Turn 1, you get your droid tank out. So that way, on turn 2, you're dealing 4 extra damage when you play all 4 of your TIE fighters, and then you roll 4 of them in, and you deal an extra 6 damage, and by then you kill the character, and you're feeling pretty good.
And that 4 damage comes immediately, because they all have ambush.
Yep.
Yeah, CD Mena in chat says, in his opinion, X-Wing is not good, and the TIE is so good. I completely agree. I mean, like, I hate judging cards before seeing the rest of the set, but if I'm just comparing the two straight up without some sort of, I don't know, maybe tutor mechanic or other way to get them out more consistently, I just don't see how this is going to be as good as the TIE Fighter.
See, the X-Wing, it's not great, but it's fun. I think it's a fun card.
And it would be fun to have like a kind of thematic matchup. You got a TIE Swarm against a couple X-Wings and see where that goes. That could be fun. So, still, it's a cool card. Some people will definitely use it, and people always surprise with making things work that some others think aren't good. So it'll be interesting to see if somebody, finds a good deck for this. So
cheap vehicles are useful, and a 2-cost vehicle is nice. Now,
yeah, I mean, if you think about it, what's the Airspeeder is a 2-cost, and it only has two range sides, I think it is, and that's
right.
Really strong. So even if you only get one out the first round and then get a second one, it's still a good vehicle.
Oh, if you have 2 out, it's a solid play.
Yeah.
3, it becomes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like one of those win more situations where, unless you're like on death's door with your characters, if you get a 3rd X-Wing out, you got 3 of those you're rolling in. Like that's powerful.
Seems good.
But you got to get to that point. That's the thing. Like, you have to
most hero vehicle decks are built to the point where they built so that they can get to that point, right? The whole game plan is to get to that critical mass point. So it's just that in this case you need these 3 exact vehicles. So interesting to see. A tutor would help it a lot. So my prediction is that it's not going to be very competitive, but it'll be fun.
We also, they've added in modifications for supports that we've only seen essentially 2 of. So there might be some really cool stuff that you can do with X-Wings that either buff them, or maybe there's a tutor port. Who knows? There's a wide open.
Maybe there's a mod that lets you search for a vehicle with the same name or something. Who knows? A lot of space there. We'll see what happens. All right, let's move on and talk about the Inferno Squad ID-10 Seeker Droid. This is a red villain upgrade. It's a droid, so that's relevant for things like Afra. So is this the first upgrade? Excuse me, is this the first droid upgrade we've seen? I believe it is. So if you're
the ID-9 Seeker Droid is an upgrade droid.
Oh yeah, you're right. So I've never seen anyone play Afro with that, but anyway, this would cost 1 less with Afro. So anyway, it's 1 cost, and its die sides are 1 melee, 1 focus, 1 resource, and 2 specials, so no blanks. And its special says, look at an opponent's hand and discard a card from it. That opponent may take 1 additional action during their next turn this round, which is hilarious because if you recall from earlier spoilers, Aiden, who is the character who's like, this is her droid, so it's meant to synergize with her. Her ability says your opponents cannot take extra actions during their turn. So this on her is like, oh, I'm going to discard a card from your hand. Oh, but you don't get the benefit because I'm Aiden, so screw you.
Yeah, this is your kind of upgrade.
Yeah.
Where you get to look at their hand, you get to say, I hate this card, get rid of it, and then if you're playing Aiden, you don't get anything special. Yeah, for one, like that's really good. And it has a blanks. It's got 2 focus, which are really useful. It's got a resource side, which is always, I mean, for 1 cost upgrade, you can essentially pay for it with a single resolution of that. And then the melee, it's not, I mean, it's damage. Yeah.
There's not a single side on this die that I'm unhappy to see.
Yeah. And, I'll talk about this a little bit later. You know what else I love this for? It's red upgrade that has 2 specials on it, so my Tickle Jabba deck really wants this.
Boo. I love it. That's awesome. Yeah, that's a good point. And there are some, so after you resolve all that indirect damage, you take a card from their hand just to kind of rub salt in the wound. I like it. It's funny because this is one of the more straightforward, quote-unquote, basic cards that we've seen. And it's probably, I'm really excited for this card. I can't wait to try it. I think it's going to be really impactful. So...
Yeah. Afra getting this for free, that is value for days.
See, Afra getting it for free. How many? So Aiden is 15 points. How many points is Afra?
She's 14 elite.
Oh yeah, so you can do that. You can run Aiden Afra. I don't know if that's a good deck, but you can do it. So that's interesting.
Something to kick around. I mean, at least. You know.
I mean, I'm also excited for it because we have a friend locally, Chase, who one of the reasons he got out of the game was all the action cheating. So Aiden is right up his alley. And so this card on top of that is so good on her. We could make him a deck that'll get him back into the game, I think.
Yep. I'm gonna build him. Well, he wants a Boba Fett deck, so I'm gonna.
Oh yeah, you're right. That's true.
Boba Phasma or something.
Yeah.
Play that.
All right, we got one more card to go over, and it's a good one. And I know you love this card, so I'm going to let you take the reins. Too. Yes, it's a common. So, yeah, go ahead, take the reins on this one.
All right. So, this card is called Improvised Defense. It is a yellow neutral support, 1 cost. The text on it reads, after a die is turned, you may discard the support from play to remove that die. So, it is an interrupt. It's not an action.
Yep.
And when they start flipping, either with focus or with special chaining, especially with special chaining, you can say, let's stop that from even taking place, and you just discard the support. And
no more of that nonsense.
So all the Yoda special chaining stuff, all the crazy focus, I love it. I love it. This is what this game needed. I can't wait to get 2 of these in every deck that has a yellow character in it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a nice, elegant solution to special chaining. Obviously, it requires yellow, so it's not going to work for every deck. But if you're playing Yoda now, you're like, do I even want to resolve this special? Because you're just going to remove whatever die I flip, or maybe you just take a shield and a resource instead, which obviously is still strong, but not nearly as strong as the things that you could do with that Yoda die. So I love this in the same way that I love Suppressive Fire, where it's a reactive card that doesn't take up an action to use, and it forces your opponent to play differently. So I'm definitely gonna be using this card a lot, and I love that it's neutral. It goes in hero or villain. So yeah, so great card. It just affects so many things, from Yoda to the focus from Snoke, Thrawn, from the special on Price. All of these things are affected. So
yeah,
love it.
It's awesome. I love it.
I
could gush more about it, but
I think we've said all.
It's great. it's gonna be out there. People are gonna play it.
Like I mentioned, I'm not really. I usually dislike trying to make bold predictions or whatever on cards when we haven't seen most of the set, but I feel pretty confident right now this is going to be a competitive card right off the bat.
Yeah,
So
I do too.
all right, so that I believe that's it for the new spoilers.
Yeah.
So
Might have been something like a dorsal, but I don't think anybody got a pick up.
sorry,
So
you
have
broke up on me
something-
there. You said something. There was a what?
I said I think that one of the game designers that was there was playing with a upgrade, like a support upgrade called the dorsal turret, but I never saw
Huh.
a picture.
I
or
was gonna
never
say, I
heard
haven't
about
seen
it,
that.
so- Yeah, I don't think anyone caught a picture of it. I just
Okay.
heard whispers in the wind about it.
Come on, Nova participants, you have one job. Get us those pictures.
One guy needed to go up there with a mill deck and play all of them and just look at your card.
That's the
and
hero the
stop
people
and
need.
say, "Can I see your deck?" And then take detailed pictures of every card in their discard pile. But no one did that.
The hero we need.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So that's it for spoilers. So let's go ahead and let's see what else do we have on the docket. I guess we should talk about Nova and UK Nationals both happened since our last show, haven't they? So there's a lot to unpack there. UK Nationals happened first. It was, I believe, the weekend before. Is that correct?
Yeah. So, or was it 2 weekends? I don't know. It's been a while.
Yeah. But so that was the first event after Gen Con where everyone was losing their minds about how Mill is going to break the game and everyone's going to quit because Mill is awful and everyone hates it. And Mill showed up in force. There were a lot of them. It didn't really.
I think they said like 40% of the field was
Yeah.
Mill there,
I remember reading that there was one initial report that ended up being a lot higher than the actual number was. But there were still a lot of them there. Like, it was a large portion of the field, and it didn't really do all that great. It showed up, I think, once in the top 16, if I'm remembering correctly. Whatever it was, for the percentage of the field it has, you would expect it to be pretty. What's the word I'm looking for? You would expect it to be pretty represented in the top cut, and it wasn't. So,
well, honestly, this goes back to something that I talked about with some of our other shows. Just because the deck does well, and just because you copy a deck just like a person made it, does not mean you are going to do as well as that person did.
yes.
The Hyperloops team that practiced with that deck before Gen Con, they spent a month plus playing that deck into the ground, learning its strengths and weaknesses, learning what decks as well against.
It's almost like the skill of the person piloting the deck is more important than the deck itself.
Exactly. So it's not a matter of saying that the people who took it to UK Nationals suck. Obviously, they don't.
Sure.
But they don't have the reps with the deck to know the ins and outs and know how it works. And when the going gets tough, they don't know the proper action and sequencing to take. So,
and on top of
that,
they didn't have the surprise factor that the Hyperloops guys had because the deck list had been out for a week or two at that point. Not only that, everybody expected it to be popular and teched against it. So
yeah,
it was certainly not as beneficial to bring that deck to UK Nationals as it was to bring it to Gen Con when you had that kind of extra edge. So, speaking of counters, there was a pretty unexpected deck showed up and did pretty darn well. I saw the character pairing. I took a brief look at the deck list, but like I said, my life has been insane the past week or two, so you probably know a lot more about this deck. So why don't you kind of talk about what it is?
I don't know a ton about it. I just know that, so the new flavor of the month is Snoke and a couple of scrubs that build up via. How you build it out from there is kind of up to you. Some decks use Afra. In fact, that's the Nova version that won. But with the UK version, they had a Sebulba deck that did really well. which I love because I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, well, I
But
mean, why would you not bring Sepulba to a national championship event? Sepulba always wins.
yeah, so Boba always wins. But going into UK Nationals, this mill deck was the boogeyman, and it was the boogeyman because of that stupid Anakin's Pod Racer. So if you have a card in deck that can blow up vehicles with the efficiency that Sebulba always wins does,
Yeah, but
might
the
as
thing
well
is,
take it in. Like,
at least the deck list that I saw isn't running Sepulba always wins.
well, that's true.
So it's so let me go through the deck list that won UK Nationals here. I'm getting the list from our friends over at Your Destiny, so they have a really good write up on the deck. This is kind of where I first saw the news, and obviously they're over on that side of the pond, so they were covering UK Nationals pretty extensively. So the deck list is Weapons Factory Alpha as the battlefield, and the characters are 2 dice Snoke, 1 dice Sienna, and 1 dice Sebulba. Upgrades are just 2 chance cubes. The supports, so there are 15 supports in here. There's 2 Arc Starfighters, an Archangel, 2 ATST, 1 Count Dooku Solar Sailor, 2 Hailfire Droid Tank, 1 Houndstooth, 2 Pirate Speeder Tank, 2 Planetary Bombardment, 1 Sebulba's Pod Racer, and a Slave 1. And then the events are Beguile, 1 copy of that, 1 Dark Ritual, 2 Delve, so good way to get out all of your 6+ costs upgrades, supports. A Feel Your Anger, 2 Friends in High Places, so another way to get out those expensive supports. He Doesn't Like You, 2 Pinned Down, 1 Best Defense, and 2 Truce. So there's nothing in this deck that screams to me this is a counter to Mill other than it's Rainbow.
Well,
it's extremely efficient and powerful vehicles. So
that's the thing, because you can win with a handful of vehicles if, turn 1 you get out a droid tank, and turn 2 you get an ATST, and turn 3 you get out, Slave 1.
right.
Like, those 3 vehicles combined with your character dice, because if you're going against the mill deck, you're not losing those characters.
Sure.
Unless you go 9 rounds of power action, Sebulba to death. I
Yeah.
don't see that happening.
And you also don't care about things like the indirect from Delve against a Mill deck because
Right.
you're not taking damage,
So I will pay that 3 and take that damage for a free ATST any day.
Yeah.
And then with that, you've got that special on there where if you don't resolve the 6 range damage or whatever it is, you get to blow up the pod racer or sitting across from you.
Right.
So,
Are you talking about the ATST?
the ATST.
That's true. So that's a good point. So it has like a 5 damage side or something, but that special is very relevant in that matchup. Getting rid of that pod racer is huge.
Yeah, I would sacrifice a few points of damage for that. And, well, I guess it would depend on the situation, because if I can kill Anakin
Right.
with the shot from the thing, it's like, well, that pod racer would suck, but if I kill Anakin, then it's not an issue.
Sure.
So, I mean, it would depend. I mean, obviously, I have never played that deck. I've never seen it in action. I'm sure that the guys who did pilot it played it a lot more than me, and they know how those work. But that getting those vehicles out at those choice, being able to power action and get, say, 4 resources round 1, playing like a Slave 1, for instance.
Yeah.
That's a really useful die
Absolutely.
to have on the board. And with that power action where you get to remove an opponent's side while re-rolling without discarding, I love that as a mill tech.
Yeah, so this has a lot of things going for it. The more I think about it for Miltech, it has a lot of focus. It has a lot of decks have a bunch of dead cards against Mill. Removal that targets damage sides and all that such of thing. This does not have really any dead cards other than maybe Dark Ritual in that Mill matchup. So that's nice. The Slave 1 reroll is super nice. That ATST vehicle removal that we already talked about. Count Dooku's Solar Sail with all of its focus helps. And, of course, the thing we haven't talked about yet that puts this deck over the top is Sienna Ree's action, which a lot of people forget exists. So, pointing out it's not a power action. It's an action, which means you can do it multiple times per round. It's just pay 2 resources to ready support. So you just slam somebody with your ATST. I'm just going to pay 2 resources do it again because I have more focus showing. I'm going to hit you for 10. So that's insanely powerful. And I didn't actually watch the stream, but I've seen somebody do a deck similar to this where I've seen the ATST resolved like 3 or 4 times just because they had the money for it.
Well, and that's because, you know, you have a chance cube in there. You've got Snoke's power action. So let's say one like Sebulba hits his resource. Power action, you're up to 4 resources. You roll in Snoke, you're down to 3 resources, but then you hit the 3 resource side with either focus, naturally rolling it. All of a sudden, you have 6 resources. Then you get to roll in that ATST once, and then pay 2 to ready it, pay 2 to ready it, pay 2 to ready it. You're talking 4 resolutions of a 6-cost support die. And if you have maybe a delve round 1 or something where you got it out, that's round 2 that you're doing that.
Yeah. And
that
you can do that with things like the droid tank, or excuse me, with the planetary bombardment.
Yeah, like imagine
21 indirect damage.
Yeah, just actually, to be fair, you can't do it with planetary because it's not a vehicle.
Is Sienna just say vehicle or does she say support?
It says vehicle.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
That's the reason they don't, because I mean, you would be running planetary bombardments instead of ATSTs in there if you could do it.
Sure, yeah.
At least in my opinion,
it's running both. The deck list runs both.
Okay. Well, I mean, planetary is not bad, but I'm
yeah. I mean, you also don't hate readying a droid tank, so
true.
You know, you're never mad about that. But yeah, it's a very interesting deck. There's a lot of things going against it against Mill, which is why I assume it did so well. And there were a bunch of these in the top cut. So obviously it was a play testing group, which again speaks to the power of having a group of people, a team, if you will. A lot of people call them of players to kind of bounce ideas off of, practice decks, and prepare for big events. So obviously these guys did that, and it paid off in spades. So
yeah.
So sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, I dig the design space of it. Like, as soon as I heard that Stolba was in the winning deck, no way, get out of here.
Yeah.
But nope, it
is. So let's see. I missed, admittedly, a lot of stuff from Nova. So do you want to kind of go over what happened there? Give a little recap. What did well, what didn't?
Well, what I wanted to do is give a shout out to the guys from Arrowbrook Gaming, because apparently their playtesting and their prep for this event was crazy good, because the top 2 guys were from their crew.
Oh yeah, I saw this.
And they played the same deck, and they knew each other. Like, that's awesome to have, like, you and your playtest partner make 1 and 2 at national championships.
Yeah.
Like that is crazy good. Yeah. But like I said, you know, it's we saw a version of this before, I believe. Like, this was during Store Championship season or something, where Snoke, Afra, and a battle droid, you know, and using Afra's ability to reduce the cost of a droid, using tech team, I don't know if they use reprogram or not, but I think they might. But, you know, using this stuff, you get to play, like, cost droid tanks and free BT1s and 000s. So saving your resources for maybe another vehicle or control or any number of other cards and things that you can use, it's efficient at getting stuff out on the board, which is what I'm seeing with how these vehicle decks are able to beat Mill. You are so fast on the board that, well, yeah, they are eating up your deck a little bit. By the time they have got you down past halfway, you've already got 4 vehicles or 4 supports on the board.
And a lot of ways to flip them to whatever you want.
Yeah, with Snoke, you know, Elite Snoke means you've got a total 4 focus sides with his 2 dice that you can start fixing that stuff. You've got his power action to where if you're not resolving it on a resource side, you can resolve it on one of the damage sides. You've got that battle droid out there to soak up the damage from, say, BT1, which is then, if you go 000 out, dealing 2 indirect damage to your opponent. you get to draw a card, you get to, and I talked about this before when we were talking about the mill apocalypse. Cards in hand are way more useful than cards in deck because those hero mill decks don't hit the hand as well. They've gotten better at it than they were,
Sure.
but if you have a hand of 9 cards, you've got a lot of, I guess I'll call it armor against that mill deck that, he might be able to get 1 or 2 in a round, but he can't get 9.
Yeah.
So
I love how it turned out because I was a little, frustrated with with everyone going crazy about mill in general. I've expressed this on previous podcasts, but it did really well at one event, and everyone just freaks out that the game is going to die because mill exists. It's the first time mill had ever been good, won a major event, had this strong showing. But we've also seen it every other event and pretty much every meta. Maybe Rainbow Nines is one example, one exception. But every single time a deck like this comes out, somebody finds a counter. Like, Destiny in itself is a pretty well-balanced game in that there are counters to most things that people are going to do, and there's a lot of really good players who find those counters. So I think it's a lesson overall to, if you're trying to be competitive, don't just focus less on, oh no, is this thing broken, and more on, all right, how do I beat this? Because it was proven at these 2 events that it's possible, and it was really effective when people found an answer to a deck that seemed, nigh unbeatable at the time.
Yeah.
So I just love seeing innovation, and we saw a lot of it, and it's fun to watch.
Now, one thing I will say, and that I've started to notice, is that Snoke is super powerful to the point that if you're running villain, unless you're Nick Cuenca and running Dooku Talzin, you're probably running Snoke in your deck.
Yeah.
And I don't like that design space where almost half of the decks that were taken to Nova had Snoke in it.
Sure.
Like, the cheap cost, high health, amazing power action, and really good support die, it's just a recipe for, you're going to see him everywhere.
Yeah.
And
he's pretty good.
Yeah. Now, I don't like that it's pushing, I believe it was UK Nationals where I think 14 of the top 16 decks were 3 character lists.
Yeah.
That's a really high percentage. I want to see 2 character lists be viable, but when you're dealing, a lot of these decks maybe only run 4 control cards because they have the health to soak up the damage. They don't care.
Yep.
They're getting out of the vehicles and they're just going to blow you out of the water. That, the health of their characters is enough control for them to make it to the game. And when you got those 2 character lists that, you got maybe 22 health or so,
it seemed good at one point. Now I hear 22 health and I'm like, ooh.
I need at least 27.
Yeah. Yeah.
That I don't like that feel for the game.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm hoping the next set will even it out, but I'm afraid it's just gonna make these decks more effective because it seems like there's a big vehicle focus coming with all of the modifications and new vehicle stuff that they've released. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's we have such a small list of cards they've spoiled for it. It's hard to say, but my gut reaction is unless Snoke is dealt with and unless Yoda is dealt with, it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Sure, yeah. I don't disagree there. And speaking of only having a couple of spoilers at this point, I'm going to go on a mini rant here because one of the other things we were going to talk about tonight is that Store Championship season has ended, and so we're kind of in a little bit of a lull. There's no major competitive events coming up. Regionals don't start for a little while, so we're kind of in this dead space. And I mentioned this as soon as Across the Galaxy was spoiled, but it drives me crazy. This is the perfect time right now to announce a new set. everyone's just kind of coming down off the high of all these competitive events. There's nothing to really talk about. If the set was announced right now, like, it would keep the hype rolling, right? Everybody's really excited about, oh, there's new stuff coming. We have more to talk about. We got a couple spoilers, which helps. But I think the pacing that they do for, kind of release a set and then announce the next one a month later when everybody's still all excited about the one they just got, it just makes no sense to me. And I'll never understand why you don't space it out to build out the hype more at a dead time in the game to kind of keep it consistent. But that's just me. I don't work at FFG. I'm just a player, and I'm here to complain, I guess. But I would love to see kind of, at least at this point, a consistent stream of spoilers so that it keeps people interested, keeps people talking about the game, keeps it growing.
Yeah. I didn't hate when they announced Across the Galaxy quite as much as you did, more because it's in line with all of their other announcements. Like, they've done
That's a terrible reason.
Much.
Oh, they've done this before,
reason.
so it's okay.
Yeah, like the same thing that we did that didn't work, we're gonna keep doing it.
Yeah, right. Like, that's more reason to be upset about it, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm just being overly critical, but
absolutely right. I would love for us to be talking about these Han Solo spoilers and Versio spoilers now, as opposed to a month and a half ago. Or
when we're still exploring the set we're in. Yeah,
exactly. Yep. Like we were literally talking about, like, man, I can't wait for this draft. Oh, by the way, here are these spoilers for the set that won't be out for 5 months.
Well, and an adverse effect of that too is, Way of the Force is fine, but we got these Across the Galaxy spoilers, and we're like, holy crap, I'm way more excited for Across the Galaxy than I ever was for Way of the Force, and it kind of takes away excitement from the current set.
I said that, as soon as we started seeing these Across the Galaxy spoilers, like, those spoilers had me more excited than any Way of the Force spoiler.
Yeah. So that's what I was talking about, was you're the one who said that. And I'm like, that's my point, is if that happened now, that's fine, because we've already been enjoying the set for a while. But when it was announced that early, it takes away some of the enjoyment, I feel, of the set of Way of the Force, because we're already more excited for the next one when we haven't even fully parsed this one.
Yeah, I don't think that's a common feeling. I mean, not everyone just was kind of mad about Way of the Force. To be fair, it's a good set. It's a fun set.
Sure.
But I'm more excited for Across the Galaxy, just from what I've seen of it so far.
Yep.
But,
Yeah. So we're already going on an hour. You want to plow through this other stuff, or do you want to save it for another episode? How do you want to handle it?
I love talking about spoilers, though. So.
Oh, sorry, you cut out a little bit for me. Say that again.
I was just saying, I didn't realize how long the spoiler talk would go. I just love talking about spoilers. So.
Sure.
If you want to go over, so for the last few minutes of the episode, let's go over our last store championship of the season.
Let's brag about the jank.
Yeah, so Cruzen and I went to store championship. Initially, we were going to drive like 2.5 hours away, which is already kind of sad enough. But our area was limited in how many championships it got. So we found out like a day or two before that there was a shop just north of town that got a kit that we were unaware of, and they were hosting a sort of kit. So we all decided, all audible, let's go play up here. And our whole crew, we thought we were going to be the only people there. We're like, let's bring garbage decks. Let's bring janky, fun decks and just enjoy ourselves with the day. And then some other people showed up. No, there was some really cool stuff with that. A couple of guys that had just learned how to play and had like starter decks, and they split a booster box. That was all the cards they had.
Yeah.
They played in the tournament.
Yeah, so it was a guy playing Leia, Gungan Warrior, and another red character that I'm forgetting. But he literally just like, these are the characters I pulled, so I built the deck around it.
Yeah. And they were having fun. They were just like learning the game, and they were just enjoying themselves. And one of the guys,
they were having fun until they went up against our friend Aaron, who brought Mill. Then they weren't having fun anymore.
That's true.
Sorry, Aaron.
Our friend Aaron. So when we were sitting there, it was only the five of us, and those two guys came in. We thought it was going to be like a 7-man sort of championship. It'd be over real quick, and it'd just be janky fun. And then a few other guys that we know came in that they didn't get the memo because they drove from Kentucky, the other side of this store, and they just brought competitive decks because they didn't know. I mean, it's
and it was also their only store championship, so they obviously wanted to win it.
So Aaron re-audibled back to his original plan where he played Yoda Cassian Mill, but Cruisin' and I, we weren't going to.
I only brought the drink.
I didn't want to build a deck to try and compete, so I'm just like, all right, let's just go with it. So, remind me again, Cruisin', what did you run?
I ran, so it's not quite crazy jank, but it's jank in that I put it together last minute and just wanted to see if it worked. So I played Piet and 2 Mandalorian Super Commandos. So staying on brand with Super Commandos. I like Piet's ability. So I wanted to give it a try, and I just had some ideas for some fun stuff I could do with it. But so we did pretty well. So there were 10 people that showed up, and we both finished top 4, third and fourth respectively, and we both had one game that something absurd happened. So do you want me to tell my story first, or do you want to tell yours, because they're both pretty ridiculous?
Yeah, you go through yours first.
All right, yeah. Yours is probably more ridiculous. Mine's just more table flipping, frustrating. So this was the last round of Swiss, and I knew going in that if I win the game, I probably finish second or so because there was an undefeated player, and so I've already won one, so I wasn't like crazy concerned about it, but I'm also competitive. I was like, I want to take this deck and win, so I'm try-harding with this Mando deck. And I'm playing against Yoda Zeb. And first of all, I went after Yoda first, which I feel like 95% of people go after Zeb first, just because it seems like he's the main source of the damage, which he is. But I strongly believe getting Yoda off the board as soon as possible just neuters that deck. So I went after him, got him down pretty quick, and then he dropped second chance on Zeb. And I'm like, okay, no big deal. Then I remember that he's running Starship Graveyard. Mm-hmm. So you can probably see where this is going. I was trying to figure out a way in my head to get around it, but he just, he would roll into one action. If I popped the second chance, he would claim to put it back on top of his deck. If not, he would just let me do whatever I want, and I wouldn't be able to do the damage. So I was trying to get to a point where I could deal, all of the damage at once, but by the time that happened, I didn't have a lot of... I think I had one Super Commando left. So I got to the point where I had Zeb down to 2 health, and I had a full health Super Commando, and I lost the game because, I kid you not, he cycled my second chance 7 times. I'm sitting there like, I had this game in the bag. I think I did the math. It was something like 65 damage that game. Like something ridiculous. And
you did what? Almost 40 damage just through second chances.
Yeah. Yep. And the worst part is on the very last round, I had it. Like I had the right combination of cards in my hand. I believe it was, the power action was one. Then, I had the die resolutions to get him down to a low amount of health after the second chance. And then I had a free-for-all in my hands to do the killing blow. And he was like, I could probably take the safe play, but I'm going to just see if I can win outright. And he played quick draw and activated and rolled the damage to kill me. So going through 7 second chances, and I'm like, oh my God, I might actually get this. And then that happened. I was just like, no, I was so close. So that was really frustrating. And if I didn't feel this way before, I now certainly feel like I cannot wait until second chance is gone. Cycle. Go away.
Yeah, there's a few cards like second chance of Force Illusion and Iris Jump. I'll be excited to see those.
Force Illusion is not going to cycle out, is it?
Yeah, it's
it's Empire at War?
Spirit Rebellion.
Spirit Rebellion. Okay, yeah. I don't know why I thought it was later than that. Yeah, you're right. So that's my story was very frustrating but ridiculous. Yours is the exact opposite.
Yes. I brought Tickle Jar Brenda Price, both elite. I had been talking about bringing a Tickle Java deck to an event for a long time. I had built a couple versions, and I
I can't remember if
initially
we've
thought it's
explained this
like,
before, but we should tell the people what you mean by tickle Java, just in case they don't
oh,
know.
right. So Tickle Java is Java 2, the Way of the Force Java. He's the one that's 1216, I think is his cost.
Yeah.
12 health. He's a special that reads deal indirect damage equal to the number of dice showing specials in your die pool. So I built a deck of a bunch of like cheap yellow upgrades that have two specials on them. So I have like two copies of Formidable, I have two copies of Underhanded Tactics. I I think I brought a cable launcher. Like I'm trying to remember all the stuff that I brought.
All those
But
cards that people are like, "Can I read that?" I don't know what it does.
right, I'll say I had to read them myself to remind myself what they do. But I played. I can't remember if it was round 2 or 3. It really doesn't matter. I played against a guy who was one of our friends who brought a Gungan deck. So he brought Elite, Jar Jar, Boss Nass, and two Gungan Warriors. And by round 2, I hit the nuts roll where I I managed to hit both Java specials on 2 or 3 of his upgrades, and a couple specials on price, and did a total of 26 damage to his squad
Round 2.
by resolving a couple of Java specials for I think 11 damage, and then a um, thermal detonator special for another,
12.
that,
That's
12
so
damage
gross.
Yeah, and it was like I felt really bad about it because it went from like a full squad to like one health Jar Jar left.
Now, interestingly, the way you explained that, actually, I just thought of something. When you dealt the 11 indirect, he could have mitigated some of that by actually killing a Gungan warrior, so that the thermal debt didn't do as much. I mean, it's still ridiculous. He would have lost.
The thermal debt does damage to every character.
Right.
So, I mean, technically, yes, it would not do as much damage, but it's just in how you order the
right.
points of the damage.
Still, it's ridiculous. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, he got a little salty, tilted after that. I was like, I'm sorry, but you literally played against the one deck you should not have played against here. It was just like round 2 I did that. It wasn't like it was like way deep in the game. Nope, it was round 2 that I just wiped him off the board.
I directed him to our website to read my Salt article. He was not amused.
He was too salty to read Salt.
So, I mean, it was fun. It was it was unfortunate that we ended up getting some high meta decks, but also, like, I get it. You go to a store championship, you want that buy, you compete for it. So, it was a fun event, and the guys who brought the competitive decks are super nice. So it was nice to, kind of hang out and play with them. So it was a good time, and obviously shenanigans were had, and it was fun. So. That was the end of our store championship season, and now we wait for regionals.
Regionals.
Yeah.
I'm hoping, because my arc so far has gone pretty much how my store championship arc last year went. So if that's the case, I'm going to win the first regional we play in. So.
No, we're going to come first and second, but I'm going to win this time.
Okay, that's fine.
All right, cool. We're on the same page. All right, I think that's going to wrap it up for this week's episode. Now that my work is, well, it's not really dying down, but it's not as crazy as it used to be. We will be back to a semi-regular schedule with one caveat that next week I'll be around, but the week after that I will be going on vacation, so there won't be an episode that week. But you can look forward to more consistent episodes moving forward, and we hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, be sure to check us out on Facebook and iTunes, and leave us a review on iTunes if you like the show. That means a lot to us. It really helps. So other than that, stay tuned to our Facebook page where we'll be posting there, and on Twitter to let you know when we'll be casting the next episode on Twitch. If you want to join in on the stream and participate, we'll answer your questions, all those types of fun stuff. And I think that's about it. Anything else you want to add before we sign off?
No, just thank you guys for following us, giving us support. We really appreciate it. I know audioly speaking, and that's not a word, but the new mic that Cruisin's using, that is thanks to your guys' support, 100%.
Yeah, you don't have to listen to my breathing anymore, so... Or more accurately, I don't have to edit out my breathing as much anymore. That's probably a better way. But yeah, so that's going to wrap it up. Thanks again for listening. Hope you enjoyed the show. And for Justin, I'm Brian, and we'll see you next time.
Yep, see you guys.
All right, let's see if Zencastr works. Mine is done. That was real quick. It looks like yours is there too. Did that finish downloading for you already?
Let me check.
Yeah, I already downloaded your, well, it's downloading your audio. So that was super quick. Good job, Zencastr.
All the tracks finish uploading. Yep.
Sweet.
So make sure you, God, that was 121 minutes. I did not expect it.
Yeah, I mean, we hadn't done a show in a couple of weeks, so that makes sense. I mean, we didn't even cover, some of the topics we wanted to talk about, so we could have kept going, but... I said work is dying down, but it's only semi dying down, and I have a bunch of stuff to do tomorrow, so I didn't want to have to edit a 2-hour episode.
Yeah.
What is this, 109?
Yeah, 109.
We got 108 up, right? I'm so all over the place. I remember.
Yeah.
You were gonna. Did you end up editing that one?
No, that's the Salt episode.
Oh, well, it was something that you were going to edit, and now I don't remember what it is.
Well, it was something that I was going to edit, but I couldn't download the file from Zencastr.
Oh, and I ended up doing it.
Yeah.
That was episode 8. Okay. Yeah. I'm not going crazy. All right, I downloaded your audio. I'm downloading yours. Thanks for tuning in, for those of you on Twitch. Appreciate you coming and hanging out. IKEA, you should move to Nashville so that I can buy your furniture.
Yep.
We had one that was supposed to come here, and they ended up backing out. That was kind of sad.
Yeah, they decided brick and mortar was just not worth it, so they pulled out.
So I think I'm gonna start streaming from my my personal stream as well for things like Artifact. So I've been kind of setting up that that channel. And it has like, I only streamed from it once just for fun, so it's like starting over for fresh. But I don't know if I'm worried about maintaining 2 Twitch accounts. I don't know if I should try to combine them, but I kind of like having one just for the show. So I think it makes sense to just leave them separate.
Yeah, I mean it's annoying, but it's not like.
Yeah.
Super.
Yeah, I just have to log in and out, so it's not a huge deal. So, all right, man. I am going to wrap up some stuff around here, and I'll probably try to edit it tomorrow, in the morning or so. So.
Yeah, I mean, waiting until the start of next week to release this probably is not the worst things.
Yeah, that's a good point. So maybe I'll end up doing that. We'll see. But if I have time tomorrow, I'll definitely try to get it done.
All right.
Cool. All right, man. Good show. It was fun. Thanks again, everybody, for hanging out. And, we'll see you guys next week.
Yep. See you guys.